Adios, Subito.
Hello everyone, this is Pico Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video for you. And in building up to the upcoming 5th Indiana Jones movie, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, due for release on the 30th of June 2023, we will look back and reflect on all previous movies within the Indiana Jones franchise, and here we will revise a review of the first and still overall best entry within the series, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Going way back to its initial release on June 12, 1981, it stars Harrison Ford in the iconic role as Indiana Jones, Karen Allen, Paul Freeman, John Rhys Davies, and Denholm Elliott, and of course it was directed by master filmmaker Steven Spielberg. Now the setup of Raiders of the Lost Ark is based in 1936, following globetrotting archaeologist Dr. Indiana Jones. Following a breathtaking attempt to retrieve a golden artifact in South America, he's called in by American intelligence agents and warned of the growing threat of the Nazi Germany forces and how they are in pursuit of the famous Ark of the Covenant to attain its mysterious powers. Accepting the assignment, Dr. Jones ventures out across the world to try and get to the Ark before the Nazis do, and what follows is a spectacular race against time between good and evil to contain the power of the Ark before it's unleashed on the world. Now, when looking back on Raiders of the Lost Ark, nearly 40 years plus after its release, it still remains one of the greatest summer blockbusters and also one of the greatest movies of all time. It's still for me the archetypal action adventure, a wondrous mix of action, excitement, escapism, imagination and romanticism. It's the perfect blend of epic spectacle with elements of the mystery and the supernatural, and even small elements of horror as well. And all of this is blended together just so great. It's a prime example of cinematography, story and editing and musical score all working together in perfect synergy. The film itself was conceived, of course, by the two pioneers of mainstream cultural cinema in both Steven Spielberg and George Lucas. Lucas especially was inspired by the Saturday morning serial movies from the 1930s when drawing up this initial concept. Spielberg himself had major ambitions to direct a James Bond movie, and the two individuals combining together was really an alignment within the stars. George Lucas, of course, had already changed the face of popular cinema and entertainment forever with Star Wars in 1977, and he continued that impact with Empire Strikes Back in 1980. Spielberg was already laying his foundation to become the greatest director of all time with the likes of Jaws in 1975 and Close Encounters of the Third Kind in 1977. He was forging a reputation to create big event films that would achieve both critical and commercial success, films that had both the intelligence and excitement to please mainstream and art house audiences. And Raiders of the Lost Ark might just be his greatest ever film. It's certainly the most streamlined and balanced, and its impact is emphasised throughout some of the best scenes within the entire movie. Now, when talking about the best scenes, we do of course have to talk about the iconic opening 15 to 20 minutes, where we see Indiana Jones lurking out of the shadows in the South American jungle, trying to obtain the golden artifact. We see him walking through the forests, avoiding booby traps, approaching the artifact. We have that great moment where he's rubbing his chin as he's figuring out how to steal it, lifting it up thinking that he's done it, and then all of a sudden having to frantically run as the room collapses, avoiding all the arrows shooting in around him. This then leads of course to one of the most iconic sequences within all of cinema, where we see him running from a massive boulder pursuing him. He then has to escape the natives outside, swinging into the water onto the plane, and then being freaked out by a snake within the cockpit. It's absolutely iconic cinema, and still today one of the greatest opening sequences within all of movies. We then look at the map room scene, where Indy has to discover the location of the Ark. With no dialogue, the scene is carried for 2 to 3 minutes by John Williams' incredible musical score, truly soaring to great heights, and it's another fantastic moment within the film. We then have the breathtaking fight between Indy and Pat Roach's soldier, with Indy being completely overwhelmed before retaliating with a furious combination of punches, with every single sound cracking the audio with immense intensity. We have the famous face-off with the swordsman in the streets of Cairo, with Indy opting to just shoot him instead of fight. Now this was of course a result of Harrison Ford being sick at the time and not being able to film an actual fight scene. We then go on to the relentless truck chase, with Indy pursuing the Ark once more, first on horseback and then jumping on and inside of the truck, being thrown out of the car window and then hanging onto the bonnet, and then falling underneath and being dragged alongside the truck, before coming back on the other side to knock Belloc's car of course and then reclaim the Ark. It's an absolute masterclass in editing and staging of action, with the music in perfect harmony, again incredible cinema. And of course we have the film's climax where we finally see the true power of the Ark fully unleashed, and it's absolutely gripping and suspenseful to watch. Now in terms of actor performance, we obviously have to mention Harrison Ford in the lead role, and very much like Spielberg and Lucas, Ford was forging his career into becoming one of the most biggest leading actors and movie stars of all time. Having already become a cultural icon within his role as Han Solo in Star Wars, in Indiana Jones he created also one of cinema's all-time cultural protagonists. Having that daring confidence very much like James Bond, but there was much more of a flawed vulnerability. This hero is very much reliant on his physicality and self-reliance, and his role as a professor gives him a certain credibility and conviction. The fact that he has to improvise and react to situations makes him an exciting hero to watch, and it's a real callback to all of those cinematic heroes that we grew up watching so much throughout the 80s, all of them being believable, aspirational, and this is something that's missing far too often throughout today's characters that we see in modern day movies. We then talk about Karen Allen, who is very likeable as Marion, all feisty and sprightly and also very self-reliant as well. Is a truly great female character, and she has fantastic chemistry with Harrison Ford all the way through. Paul Freeman as the main antagonist Belloc is very charming and much more the thinking man's villain, much more cunning and strategical and articulate. It's a great contrast to the much more rugged, impulsive nature of Indy, and we have so many great scenes and dialogue between them both, with so many times Belloc ending up taking credit for all the hard grafting that Indy does. Rhys Davies also provides solid support and comic relief as Indy's trusted companion, Salah. And we do have to mention again John Williams' masterful musical score, so integral and crucial to all scenes throughout the film. He too was also cementing his status as cinema's greatest ever music composer, having already created iconic movie scores for the likes of Superman, Jaws, Star Wars, and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And no movie fan can deny the iconic main theme music, which also defines Indiana Jones. As soon as you instantly hear those opening notes, you instantly think of the character. Once more, absolutely iconic. So after all that adulation, we then move on to the movie's overall release, and it was a global phenomenon of a success, grossing over $318 million from just a $20 million budget. It became the highest grossing movie of 1981, gaining almost complete praise from audiences and critics. The movie's success and impact further cemented the reputations of Steven Spielberg, George Lucas and John Williams, who were very much the cinematic dream team, everything from the mid-70s to the early mid-80s. The movie's success of course propelled Harrison Ford to superstardom right throughout the 1980s and 90s. And we would go on to see one of the most successful movie franchises ever, which went on to spawn 4 sequels. This started of course with Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom in 1984, still one of my most favourite films of all time. We then had Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade in 1989, and up to that point we had one of cinema's greatest ever trilogies. Now sadly that spell was broken with the very flawed Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of Crystal Skull in 2008, and of course the franchise would finally come to an end with the upcoming Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, released in June 2023. And when looking back on Raiders of the Lost Ark, it still remains cinematic movie making at its finest. Now whilst I will always have a personal affection for Temple of Doom, and I still find that installment to be the most rewatchable of the entire franchise, growing up more as an adult, I do appreciate that as a complete movie, that Raiders is superior. Slightly more intelligent and measured, yet still with the same level of excitement, it does remain the best of the franchise, and probably still the greatest ever masterpiece made by Steven Spielberg, and very much a lesson of modern day movies today in how to combine both story and characterization and spectacle. Using primarily practical effects and stunt work is always a bonus to create that real gripping and visceral feel to it. Raiders of the Lost Ark still remains one of the most complete and exciting and stunning action adventures ever, many years after its overall release. So there's my overall thoughts and feelings and look back on the first film within the Indiana Jones franchise, Raiders of the Lost Ark from 1981. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Where do you think it ranks overall? Do you still hold it up to be the best of the franchise? Or do you think there are other installments that provide even better satisfaction than what this first film did? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you have any further suggestions regarding any other movies, television series, or any other dramas that you'd like to see me talk about within the pop entertainment and culture scene, then also let me know in the comments and I will see if I can provide commentary for you. And also look forward to further reviews of these subsequent installments within the Indiana Jones franchise, also within this channel. All of those reviews to be uploaded very, very soon. Please also hit and like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves and I will see you very, very soon.